Welcome to Truth, Money, and Freedom. Today is Friday, March 22nd, 2019. And thought I'd show this to you guys. The mainstream media is now talking about the yield curve inversion because it's very noticeable. And not only is it noticeable, but it is a very reliable sign of recession, the inversion of the yield curve. But I'll link this page below. Look at this chart though. It actually shows you how it was inverting pretty much since December. Now the inversion starts, let's see, as we see it right there in December. So that's when it officially started, and it's deepening as time goes on. This is standard. This is how the inversions work. This one might be happening just a tad faster than the inversion that happened in 2008. But I want to show you also, too, on the CNN Money page, the same pattern that I showed you yesterday, but it's deepening. That's because the 10-year took a really big hit today. I mean, just today. The previous yield, 2.54%. The latest yield as of this moment, 2.46%. And notice the 3-month yield is 2.41%, which is often referred to as the Fed funds rate. That's where they peg, the 3-month is literally what the interest rate is from the Federal Reserve to loan money to government and to banks. So the yield curve is indeed sharpening its inversion curve. It's considered a safe haven for people who are afraid of the wonky stock market. They know that it's rigged, that there's a lot of cheap and free money flowing into it, and they think they'll be safer in bonds. But I want to talk about that for just a second, because how much safer are you in bonds than you are in stocks? Well, technically, once again, we got to bring out the philosophical hat. Technically, you save your wealth by keeping it in bonds because it never has a quote-unquote negative value. It always has a positive value. So whenever you throw money into bonds, you'll always earn some interest, right? But what if, and I'm going to give you a scenario here, this is the kind of thing that we talk about in our Discord chat. What if inflation isn't 2%? Because, the government loves to tell us, and so does the Federal Reserve, inflation's 2%, just like they say the economy's awesome. But if your inflation is closer to 10%, as evidenced by John Williams of Shadow Stats, then you're actually losing a lot of money each year by being in the bond market. That's why the stock market looks so attractive. It's a risk-on environment where you can earn more money in stocks than you can with inflation at 10%. That's why the stock market is so attractive to many, many investors. However, smart money is moving out of stocks and has been, as evidenced by Lynette Zhang at ITM Trading, for about a year and a half. They've been leaving the stock market, and the cheap, easy money that's flowing into the stock market right now is mainly corporate buybacks and bank money. So that's how the stock market's been continuing to go up. So this is why, if any of you are ever wondering, well, gosh, where do I put my money then? When times like this happen, this is why gold and silver is a very attractive option, because it will keep up with inflation. Now, it's manipulated down, but at the same time, as you guys all know, Basel III is coming out, which is basically reorganizing gold into a Tier 1 asset, in other words, a riskless asset. Now, the March 29th date, as we found out from Lynette Zhang, actually applies to the Bank of India. So I'd have to look further into the document. And by the way, someone did give me a link to Mike Maloney's video where he did Basel III, and he had a different document than I had, where it actually mentions what the assets are, and it does mention gold. So I'm very grateful for someone actually bringing that to my attention, and I'll be looking into that. But gold is what central banks are doing. I don't think they're really serious about going into the bond market, the central banks. They invest too, by the way. Even though they're not supposed to, it's not part of their actual charter, but they do. and evidenced by, once again, the Central Bank of Japan owning about 80% of the indice market in Japan. So this is why, like I said, people invest in gold and silver. It's a safe haven asset, and it's supposed to offset inflation because the more money they print, the more the value of gold and silver go up. And this is a kind of a staple mentality that a lot of people have that are investors. Now, gold and silver is not really an investment, that's more insurance. A lot of people think of it as an investment, and maybe it is, um, but it's, I am heavy gold and silver, so I'm not saying it's not a good investment, but I don't think of it as an investment. I think as, basically a way to hold the value of my money over time, a store of value, which is what gold and silver are, money. Money has to qualify to be a store of value. Bonds are not keeping up with inflation, therefore they do not qualify. Money, the currency that we actually carry in our wallets, that goes down in value because they keep printing more of it. So precious metals, and then I'll offer up one more, which is cryptocurrencies. Seem to be the only ways to actually negate these troubled times. But this inversion curve that we're seeing right now is a big, big warning sign. And I would say, based on the way this thing's inverting, we might have a full, well, we got a full inversion almost from the 3 months to the 10 year. So basically, this is starting to happen a little faster than even yesterday. It was slower than it's going today. So people are putting money into bonds. Once again, they're running scared. This is probably smart money going into bonds. I don't know. This could be, hedge funds, seeing that the stock market is just unreliable, unstable, and it's an illusion. And I know I say it over and over again, it's an illusion, but it truly is. It just is an illusion of wealth because they keep printing money and throwing it in the stock market. The numbers go up, the Dow goes up to 26,000 or 26 trillion, and everyone's going, yay, my 401k is increasing in value. Not really, because it's not keeping up with inflation, with the printing of money. And I'll find a chart and put it in a podcast in the near future that shows you the value of the dollar since 1913, when the Federal Reserve took over the printing of money in the United States. Because we're at 3.7 cents. And for those of you who think that I am insane, that is actually accurate. The dollar used to be worth 100 pennies in 1913 when the Fed took over, and now it is worth 3.7 cents. So the dollar is very quickly becoming the penny compared to what it was in 1913 when the Federal Reserve took over. We all know this. I mean, we all know this, and instinctively we know this, that everything seems to cost more all the time. And it's not because the value of, cars has gone up. It's literally because the value of the dollar has gone down. That's the reason why it costs more to buy a car. Groceries. I mean, medicine. I mean, take your pick. Um, but I wanted to show this to you. I'm going to go ahead and give a kudos to CNBC, who I don't normally like, for actually talking about this yield curve inversion. The mainstream doesn't like talking about this too much, but it is so obvious right now that they kind of have to. Um, so I think that's the incentive here for them to actually put this up on a website. I don't watch television, so I don't know if CNBC is talking about this on television, but if it's on their website, I suspect that they are talking about it on television as well. But guys, like I said, this is the warning sign. Remember, for a recession, this is the warning sign. I will go ahead and link up this article down below so you guys can take a look at it. But we are definitely inverting here, and that is what we consider a sign, definite sign, a really true sign that recession is coming. So there are things you can do to, prepare yourself. We've talked about this before. Um, Pay off debt. That is so critically important going into the recession. My wife and I call it going into conservative mode, which is where you do everything you can not to spend money. So what you do in the case of that, basically is Pay off debt. I mean, you know, do simple things like make lunches at home before you go to work. Don't go out to eat, that sort of thing. Don't buy things unless you must have them, and do everything in your power not to get any new debt going on. And you know, basically that'll make things a little bit easier for you during a recession. Try to get ahead on your house payment or your car payment. If you've got extra money right now, don't blow it on stuff. Do that. Get, you know, 6 months ahead on your house and car payments, if you can. And I don't know when this is actually officially going to be announced as a recession, but the yield curve is telling us we're in it. I mean, it looks like it's pretty much already started. Evidenced by, again, store closings. This is big, guys. I wish I had access to that story right now, but I don't. But it's official now. 5,600 stores are closing, announced closings in 2019 in the United States. Everything from J.C. Penney's to Macy's. I mean, you name it. I mean, there's dollar stores or Dollar Tree or something like that in there too. There's a lot of store closings. And the U3 index tells us that unemployment is the lowest level it's been since they started taking records. And I just don't buy it. We've had too many store closings since 2008. This is a systemic problem. Remember, I was saying, guys, that the economy died in 2008 and it's been on life support ever since? They're keeping the patient alive. It's brain dead, but they keep the patient breathing and the heart pumping, even though there's no brain activity anymore. That is the U.S. economy. Indeed, many economies throughout the world share that same status. Australia is definitely becoming a zombie economy as well. Japan's economy is worsening. The EU is worsening. Germany just narrowly escaped, just narrowly, just by the skin of their teeth, escaped an official recession just this last quarter. Um, so it's happening everywhere. Italy is definitely in a recession. So is Australia. The housing market's falling in the United States, but it's falling in Australia and Canada as well. This may be a global event. And indeed, it's been predicted by many people in the alternative media as a global event this time around. So I don't want to keep kicking the dead horse, though, but I just wanted you guys to see, you know, the shifting yield curve and have access to a story that explains it, talks about it as a very reliable indicator for a recession. So, and I'll probably do some more podcasts later tonight. We'll see if I have time to do them. But thank you all for taking just a few minutes to listen. Have a wonderful day. And by the way, we're in Discord. And I know I say this at the end of every video, but there's a link in our description section to come visit us in Discord. I hope you take advantage of it. You know, we're friendly folk, and we have a voice chat and a text chat. So we talk about these kinds of things in there. You all have a wonderful day.